right, so after last night's elections, particularly in New York City, the question is, the Democratic Party now going to be in a civil war? It's a great pleasure. We welcome Pennsylvania Senator Mr. John Fetterman to the show. Senator Fetterman, you're very kind to do this, sir. I appreciate it, particularly the day after. So what do you make of the Mamdani phenomenon, and what does that mean for the Democratic Party?
What it means to me is that New York City just elected a new mayor, and that's their voice. And basically, 50% voted for him, and 50% of the other voters voted for someone else. So, in some sense, New York City is somewhat divided in the view, but without a doubt, though, he won, and he's going to be the new mayor in New York City. But it really doesn't matter much for me. It's in Pennsylvania in terms of a lot of those views overall.
So I was just thinking, okay, he won, he got his 50%. That's true. Inside the Democratic Party, he's got a lot of people, Senator Sanders endorsed him, Senator Warren endorsed him. You yourself have been involved in the, I'll call it the shutdown fight. You've been voting in favor of the CR and ending the shutdown, but it's a battle against progressives and so forth and so on. That's why I wondered about the Civil War aspect in the Democratic. I mean, he's not even a Democrat. He's a Democratic socialist. He didn't even vote on the Democratic line, from what I gather, Senator. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But I mean, how does this play out inside the Democratic Party?
Well, I mean, definitely. We have a very active part of the very progressive in our party, without a doubt. And they're very vocal right now. Senator Sanders interrupted Leader Schumer's press conference earlier in making that very strong appointments now. But what I am so saying, though, it's like for me, it's like I've been really in front of the fight to just keep our government open. I was there back in March, kind of led that charge. And I knew I was going to be here in September when they were going to shut it back down again. And now for me, as a committed Democrat, I'm fighting for the 48 million Americans that are on SNAP and the unions that are all been touched by this thing. And now also the military, pay our military, feed everybody. And the Capitol Police that are protecting us now, pay them too. And now flying in America now is continuing to it's just getting in more and more chaotic now too. I wasn't even able to find a flight here to DC. I had to fly into a different airport because they weren't actually have any. So America deserves better than this right now. And I can't ever vote to support this kinds of chaos. And this thing's run its course. And now after the election, now some members of my party now think that's a signal to dig deeper and now continue to withhold their votes. But I can't speak to their views because I haven't had any special insight on what they want to do now.
Well, that was kind of my next question. I mean, you've become known, I think, as a common sense senator. I hope you'll agree with that. And now the question is, I mean, the CR itself runs out. If you ever passed it, it runs out November 21st. So a lot of people are speculating, Senator, that there's got to be a new CR because you're going to have to extend it past November 21st, which is, a fortnight away. So are there 5 Democrats that you think would vote to do that, or is this thing just going to go on endlessly?
Yeah, like that's my concern. I mean, this thing it would expire on the 21st, and now here that's so I'm not sure, but I just want to remind everybody, we are waiting on five of our colleagues to reopen this government, and this was a Biden CR. This isn't a very partisan CR. Actually, we've all voted on this many times to ratify it. Now, on my 4 times, I voted to reopen our government, and now I'm not sure how that's going to change. And now, for me, as a Democrat, the reasons why I'm very committed to keep our government open are fighting for really what's part of the core and the people that I think our party all should be protecting and fighting for, to just open this up, because it's a sad political spectacle at this point. And honestly, I'm embarrassed, and all I can do for people that now been caught in the middle of this is just other than to apologize for it.
Well, you're not afraid to go up against the party or the party leadership on things like the border control or
No,
Israel or talking about Adolf Hitler or deporting the worst of the worst criminals and defending ICE. I mean, I've been following your career in the Senate, and it's pretty impressive. You're going to go your own way. You think, if I'm quoting you right, you're saying it's the country that matters.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And what's astonishing, if it's problematic to be a committed Democrat from the most purple state in the country, and you're not allowed, or you're penalized by fully supporting Israel, or that we want to demand to secure our border, and now we really need to reopen our government. I mean, these aren't controversial. I mean, it's like that's really not a big tent kinds of a party if that's problematic. So here we are. And now for me, it's like the lives now are being impacted in ways that move against my core values, and I think the core democratic values, honestly. And now we've made our point, and now I do believe there's a way forward to have a conversation to reduce the kinds of the costs on the ACAA policies. Now I do believe that, but right now we're getting neither of things. No one's getting their SNAP benefits or those tax credits for their insurance, or paying our military, or paying all these unions now. And why all of us are getting paid through the middle of all this, I think it's deeply unfair. And now this thing really needs to end.
You talk to President Trump frequently. How do you get along with him?
Well, no, we don't speak frequently. No. And in terms of we get along, I mean, there are things that I agree that he has chosen to do. Like, for example, the peace deal in Gaza, and that has stuck. And now I've been very, very supportive, and I actually celebrate those kinds of things. So now it's like I'm hopefully that we can all come together and reopen this and now move forward for our nation, because it's a very easy choice for me. It's a country over party throughout all this. We can disagree on many things, and we can agree on one thing, is that I think an open government is a core responsibility for here as a senator. So I think it's dangerous at this point. How can continue? And if you're emboldened by, or you're gaming it out on, hey, well, we're winning or you're losing, or who's going to blink, and then that's not a game that I ever going to want to participate in. And the only guaranteed losers are Americans that are caught in the middle of all of this mess.
Yes, afraid so. Afraid you're right on all that stuff. Anyway, Senator John Fetterman, great state of Pennsylvania. Thank you, sir, for your time. We appreciate it very much.
Thanks for having me on.
You bet.